Since you signed the petition, I have to start with you. Why did you sign it? Why was Victoria Taylor so valuable to Reddit? And by the way, still no explanation as to why she was fired.
Yeah, so as far as why was Victoria Taylor valuable to Reddit, I think it's actually kind of the nut of what's happened with Reddit, is she was a go-between between volunteer moderators, who are really the lifeblood of the community, because it's a community platform for content curation. So she was an in-between between those volunteer moderators and the administrators or the employees of Reddit. And she was seen as a good line of communication in a company and a community that had otherwise become somewhat dysfunctional, wherein the people who ran the company, Ellen Pao, didn't necessarily communicate effectively with the users who were the real lifeblood of the platform. So it's a question of governance and a question of communication, and with her removal, there was a severance of the last possible maybe link in the chain. I signed the petition. I don't know if people actually pay attention to change.org petitions. I like to think so. For me, it was the fact that so many of these moderators who dedicate their hard work were unhappy with the situation, unhappy with her leadership. In that situation, it's unfortunate for someone like that to be the leader of an important corporation.
Now, Bob, you tried to make some of these same changes at Dig. What do you think about what's happening here?
So I think it's like history repeating itself. It's deja vu for me. And the thing we learned at Dig, right, that I think Reddit is learning and they're going to have to learn, is that it is these moderators, that it's these power users of Reddit that they have much more control over that site than, say, I do on Facebook as a user, or that a Twitter user does, right? Because
they have outsized control for a single individual.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of this middle ground, right? There's a lot of people that just visit Reddit and get their news, and then there's the people that run the company, and then there's these power users in between they're a really important stakeholder, right? And I think what Reddit is apologizing for, and what they're hopefully learning through this process, is that they are such an important stakeholder that you have to treat them as if they're your board of directors, right? You have to really listen to them and create features for them. And you can't sort of, I think one of the things that happened at Dig that was a big mistake for us is we sort of let ourselves occasionally slip into this mindset of like the prison warden versus the inmates, right? And sometimes these power users, you get frustrated because it's like, oh, they're controlling our site. We can't let them take over our site and give them control. And so it's like balancing that, but you've got to get out of that sort of, we're the prison warden, they're the inmates, and collaborate with them.
And what happened with Dig is a lot of people left Dig and went to
Reddit.
And Sarah, at the same time, Ellen's made this big apology, and you look at the site and all the comments are, they're still not happy.
They're still not happy, and she's put in this defensive position where she's saying, hey, I tried to apologize to you guys before, but you downvoted all my apologies. So even the CEO of Reddit is having trouble communicating on Reddit because of this free community of users and moderators that have ultimate control over what ends up performing well on the site.
The irony here is Ellen Pao, became famous to the world, essentially. She sued her employer, Kleiner Perkins, for sexual discrimination. The jury found that Kleiner was not guilty, but in the court of public opinion, it was a very different situation. I recently spoke with John Doerr, general partner at Kleiner Perkins, who elaborated on their position that she was not a good investor, but maybe she could be a good CEO. Take a listen.
It's important to look at the difference between being an operator or being an investor. And I think Ellen can be a really great CEO. I hope that she is. But to be a successful investing partner is a really different job.
Bob, is this Ellen Pao's fault?
I mean,
is she a good CEO?
All I can say about her is I think Alexis has had a really hard time finding somebody that could...
Alexis Ohanian, co-founder of Reddit.
co-founder of Reddit. And I met with them several years ago because when they were first looking, and I was interested in maybe doing it. And the thing is, they are... It's so hard to find somebody that can lead that community because it's like you have to have this hands-on approach but a hands-off approach at the same time where you're sort of a steward and you can't sort of take this, I'm going to come in and clean house and I'm going to clean this up and turn it into something that's sellable or that we can sell advertisers on. You've really got to start with this partnership with the users, and I think that's where she initially failed, and I don't know if she can ever climb back or climb out of that hole.
Peter, do you think Reddit's at real risk? There's headlines, Reddit is burning, Reddit is at war with itself. Is there a real risk that Reddit could go away?
So that would be difficult. I mean, people develop their habits for entertainment, and then they become really locked in. I know I'm somewhat addicted to the website, so even if I became dissatisfied, even if I signed the petition, as I said I did, I'm still, flicking through it on my phone because I find it a fascinating community of interesting people sharing interesting things. There's some dark sides, which I don't appreciate, but that's sometimes the price we pay for free speech or for open platforms. As far as Ellen's role and whether she can drive it into the ground, I don't think so. And she really has an unenviable task because, as we've been talking about, she has two stakeholders. She has users, which curate and develop and create a lot of the content that people love about the site. And then she has shareholders, and she has people who she needs to return the investment. And so how do you make something profitable without discouraging user participation? How do you put ads up without infuriating users when they want to get straight to the content?
Which leads me to the question, should Reddit be a business at all, or is it just a community? Bob, Sarah, Fred Wilson, the venture capitalist, floated this idea that Reddit, by using blockchain technology, not going to go into the weeds there, but that the site could essentially run itself and there wouldn't need to be management. What do you guys think of this idea?
Well, it's kind of too late, right? They've raised money from venture capitalists, so they have shareholders they need to return capital to. So some of the decisions that they've been making, such as shutting down those abusive parts of the site, at least while they were raising money, have, already sullied the waters in terms of whether this is an open community, whether or not, those hateful, the things that you say, you don't appreciate about Reddit, even though, you appreciate the need for free speech. It's not exactly free speech if you're...
Quickly, Bob.
So here's the thing. It can absolutely be a business. I think what Fred Wilson said is very interesting, and it's a really cool technology. I think he's talking about some other entrepreneur that wants to compete with Reddit. I think for Reddit, when we were at Dig, I created an ad format called Dig Ads, and it was it was one of the first native ad formats to be to be out there before Facebook and Twitter. And the thing was, it was one of the most widely positively received feature we ever launched. Our users totally understood we had to monetize the site. They thought it was a really creative way of doing that. So I think Reddit users can be absolutely open to the fact that it needs to be a business. They just need to run it and include those users as a stakeholder and bring them into the conversation.
Which is hard to do.